This conference will now be recorded.
Class of today is OOPS features and implementation of those features. In our previous class, we covered the how to declare a class and how to create the objects for the class and how to create the constructors, destructors, and how to use the multiple instances of a class. Okay. So now we'll see the further features of the object-oriented programming in Python and how to implement those features in the Python. Okay. So outcome of today's class topic is the student is able to understand and implement the OOPS features using the Python. Okay. So the first feature of the OOPS is we'll see a data encapsulation. Okay, the data encapsulation is the feature which is used to hide the data. Okay, that is, this feature is also called as the data hiding feature. Okay, here we can hide the data from the unauthorized functions or unauthorized classes. Okay, what we'll call it as unauthorized is whatever the classes or whatever the functions which are not related to the current class. Okay, those are unauthorized and those classes are not able to access our data members. Okay, so why? Because when we are moving to the object-oriented programming, data is a very important thing compared to the any other. Okay, that is, even you can reveal the logic of your program, but you cannot reveal the data members. So data is a very secured item within the object-oriented programming. Okay, so that this data access we can hide with the help of this data encapsulation feature, and for that we are using the access specifiers. Okay, there are the three access specifiers which are provided by our object-oriented programming and in the Python also. Okay, the three are, one is the public access specifier, protected access specifier, and third one is the private. So public access specifier is in this access will be declare the variable as the only the variable name. So we need not to use any prefixes or any suffixes. It just will give the variable name. Okay, then that variable is considered as the public variable in the Python. Okay, and here the public variable is nothing but can be accessible at anywhere within the program. Okay, can be in the class or can be outside the class. Okay, there is no restrictions on the private public variable. Okay, that can be accessible throughout the program. And the protected variable is nothing but this protected variable is we can declare as one single underscore and name of the variable. So that is the variable name is prefixed by one single underscore symbol. Okay, so then that variable is considered as the protected variable in the Python programming language. Okay. So, and whenever you are using the protected variables, okay, these are we can call it as partially private and partially public variables. Okay, why? Because the protected variables are accessible outside the class. Okay, but those classes must be related to the current class. Okay, that is another, simply we can call it as the derived classes or child classes of the current class can access the protected variables. Other than that, those other classes which are not related to our class cannot be able to access the protected variables. Okay. And private variables are the name itself, it says that private is nothing but it is a confidential, okay, which is not allows the access to any others. Okay, so the variable is declared as with the two underscore symbols and the name of the variable. Okay, then that variable is treated as the private variable and cannot be seen and cannot be accessed from the outside of the class. We can access the private variable only within the class. Outside of the class, it is not able to access or it is not able to see. That is, seen is nothing but you are not able to see physically, but you can see physically, but logically it cannot be displayed for the user. Okay. So these are the three access specifiers we have. Okay, remember these notations because in the Python we'll use these notations. Okay, variable without any prefixes suffixes is the public variable. Okay, one underscore symbol as a prefix is the protected variable, and two underscore symbols as a prefix is the private variable. Okay, next. So here is the example for those access specifiers and encapsulation, and class is the exam. Okay, here we are using the object. Okay, this object is not compulsory. Okay, it is optional. Either we can use or we can leave it as the optional. Okay, just we need to give the class name, class exam. Okay, so this is the object is the base class for all the classes whatever we are creating in our Python program. Okay, so this is the object class as the base class. That is nothing but each and every our class is derived from the object class. By default, it is derived from the object class. Okay, this object class has some built-in functions and built-in variables. Okay, those we can use with our classes. Okay, so for that we can specify the object as the object to be derived from our class, or we can leave it as the optional. Okay, and next we are creating a, okay, what is this function it is? Okay, whenever we are writing a function with the, whenever we are writing a method with the name of init, okay, what we'll call this method? Okay, is a constructor method. Okay, so this init is the constructor method. Here we are passing the 4 parameters. One is the default parameter self, and a, b, c are the 3 variables that we are passing from the calling program, calling place to the class constructor. That is, whenever you create the object for the exam class, okay, then we will pass the 3 values to the object. Okay, so here I'm creating the 3 variables. Okay, self dot p. Here the p variable is not a prefix with the any other symbols. Okay, so there is no symbol as a prefix to the p. Okay, so that p is a public variable. And here PR is the variable which is prefixed by one single underscore symbol. Okay, that is nothing but the variable is protected variable. Okay, another variable PRT is a variable which is preceded by 2 underscore symbols. Okay, that is nothing but the variable is private variable. Okay, so public member, protected member, and this is the private member. Okay, so now we created the constructor and we assigned the 3 variables ABC values to the, one is a one where A value to the public member, B value to the protected member, C value to the private member. Okay, now we'll try to access these variables from outside the class and we will check what are the messages we'll get as errors. Okay, so here we are creating an object for that, x equal to exam, and here I'm sending the 3 values 11, 13 and 17. 11 is for A variable, 13 is for B variable, 17 is for C variable. Now I'm trying to display the x dot p, a p variable. Okay, here the prompt that is wherever you are accessing is outside the class, that is outside the indentation of the class you are trying to access, so that we will be use the object of the class dot the variable of the class. Okay, x dot p. Okay, so p is a public variable, so you are able to access and you can display the 11 value. Okay, so now we are trying to access the protected variable. Okay, x and dot underscore pr. Okay, so PR variable, protected variable value is a 13. And now we are changing the PR variable value as, so protected variable value as 23. Okay, now it changes the value and whenever you display it again, it shows the 23. So why you are able to access the protected variable here is, okay, why? Because okay, the environment wherever you are using these all variables, okay, that session is also treated as related to this class. Okay, okay, that is class, and this remaining part of the program is also treated as the related parts. Okay, so that you are able to access this protected member. Okay, but whenever you are trying to access the private member, okay, then you will get the error. Find std in line 1 module attribute error. Exam object has no attribute double underscores PRT variable. Okay, because the PRT variable is a private variable, so you are not able to access the private variable through the object. Okay, X object doesn't has any variable of PRT. Okay, because it is not accessible outside the class and it is not visible to the outside of the class. So you are not able to access. You will get the error message for the private variables. Okay. So I will see this using an example. Okay, here this is our notebook editor. Okay, I'll see the example for that. So class, we'll create a same class exam. Okay, here I'm creating the constructor NIT of self is the one default parameter. Okay, A, B, C are the three variables. Okay, and now I will assign them to the required variable self dot. I will create a one public variable pub. So equals to A variable. I am assigning the A variable value to the public member. Now self dot. Then I will create a one protected variable pro equals to B variable. Self dot two underscore symbols, that is this is a private variable pri equals to C variable value. So now our class creation is over. Okay, whenever you want to display these values, you can write a function as display and with a self as a parameter. Okay, now we can print the values. Print okay, public variable value comma pub variable value. Print protected variable value. Okay, so this is a protected variable value pro. Sorry, I am not using the self dot public self dot single underscore pro variable. Print private variable will display private colon self dot double underscore symbols pri variable. It shows the pri variable. Okay, now we'll come out of the class. Okay, I'll create this class first. Class is created. Now we'll try to access this class. E equals to exam of, I'll send the three values 10, 11, 12. Okay, we are sending the three values to this. Now I'll try to access the variables. Okay, print E dot public variable. Okay, it's printed. Now we'll try to print the E dot protected variable pro. Okay. Has no object protected. Okay, actually we should get this. Okay, this is coming out of that scope. Okay, so that it is showing an error as protected variable is not accessible, so that it is showing an error as exam object has no attribute protected. Okay, now I'll try to print the private variable. Print E dot pri variable. Here also you'll get the error, that is object has no attribute pri. Okay. So this is the example for private protected.
మ్యామ్ అక్కడ ప్రైవేట్ అండ్ ప్రొటెక్టెడ్ కి అండర్ స్కోర్స్ ఇవ్వలేదు కదా మ్యామ్, అందుకని లేదని చెప్తుందేమో.
ఇక్కడ సెకండ్ దాంట్లోనా? ఇక్కడ
ఎస్ మ్యామ్.
ప్రింట్ చేసిన ప్లేస్ లోనా?
అక్కడే మ్యామ్. ప్రింట్ ఈ డాట్ అండర్ స్కోర్ ఇవ్వలేదు కదా మ్యామ్.
ఓకే ఓకే ఓకే, సారీ మర్చిపోయాను. So protected variable with a single underscore, okay, so that it shows the variable value. Okay. So private with the two underscores, okay, but private variable is not accessible to the outside of the class, so that it is giving a error as the variable is not available in this scope. Okay. So we'll also call the display function of this e dot display function. Okay, it shows all the three variables because display function is in the class, so that it is able to access the public variable, protected variable, and also the private variable. Okay, so that you get the 3 variables out, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so now we'll go to the topic again. Okay, like this you can create your variables based on the required scope. If you want to create a variable as a private, you can place the 2 underscores. If you want to create as a protected, you can give the 1 underscore. If you want to create any variable as a public variable, you need not to give the any symbol. Okay, so based on our requirement of the program, we can create the variables based on our required access specifier. Okay, so now I'll move to the topic. Okay, here some of the members are giving any chat messages. Screen is not shared. Self.pub, okay. Now it is okay. Okay, screen is able to see by all. Are you
Yes,
able to
ma'am.
see the screen? Anyone are facing any problem?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll go to the next topic is class and object variables. So I will see here the object variables is instance variables. Okay, so I will see how to create these 2 types of variables, class variable and object variable, and how to access these 2 variables and what is the difference between these 2 variables. So class variables is nothing but these are shared by all the objects of the class. Okay, that is once a class variable is created and assigned with some value, the same value is displayed by all the objects. Okay, any object can change the value of the class variable. Okay, so if a first object is changing a class variable value as a 10, the same value is displayed for the remaining objects also. So those variables are also called as the class variables. Okay, and there is only one copy of the class variables. Okay, so it is shared by all the objects, so it doesn't be created multiple copies. But the object variables are instance variables are created for the each and every object, so they have the multiple copies. Okay, for each object it creates a one copy of the object variables, so that whenever your object is accessing the object variables, those are the variables of that particular object only. Okay, if you change any values of that object variables, those are applied for that object only. Okay, if you are trying to access with the another object, it gets a different values, but it doesn't show the previous object variable values. Okay, so now we'll see how to declare them. So here I have a variable is the counter equals to 0. Okay, this is declared at the class level. Okay, and within the constructor I'm declaring some other variables. Okay, here my constructor has some parameters like self, folder, number, balance, credit line, something like. Okay, so what we'll call this variable? Credit line equals to 150. Okay, what type of argument it is?
Protected.
No. What type of argument it is?
Keyword argument.
No.
Keyword argument.
Default argument.
Default argument. Okay, good.
Answer.
Okay, so the arguments which are having a default values in the declaration of the function, those are called as default arguments. So if you are not passing any value to these arguments, those will be considered with this default value. Okay, so I have 4 normal arguments and one is a self parameter I have. Okay, now I am accessing these all variables. Account dot counter plus equals to 1. Okay, here I'm accessing the counter variable with the name of a class, not with any self parameter. Okay, we are accessing with the account dot counter plus equals to 1. That is, counter is incremented by 1, and whenever you access the variable with the name of a class, okay, then that variable is a class variable. Okay, so the variable is declared at the class level. Another one is the variable, the class variable is accessed with the name of the class. Okay, then that is the class variable. Then that is called as the class variable. So whenever you want to create any variable as a class variable, then you need to create that variable outside the all functions, that is at the class level. That is the first one. Second one is you need to access that class variable with the name of the class, but not with the self parameter. Okay. So whenever you access with the self parameter, that will be treated as a normal object variable. It is not treated as a class variable. Okay. So the variable which is to be treated as a class variable, that will be accessed with the name of a class. Okay. And all other variables which are created and accessed with the self variable, self parameter are class variables, object variables, or we can call them as instance variables. Okay, these all are the instance variables. Okay, these are created for each instance. Okay, for each object, it creates a one copy of these all variables. Okay, here we are giving a 2 underscore symbols for each variable. That is nothing but these all are the private variables. Okay, holder is a private variable, number, balance, credit line. These are all assigned with the our parameters. Okay, so whatever the parameters which are passed to this constructor, those are assigned to the class object variables or instance variables. And this counter variable is incremented for every time. Okay, whatever the number of times the constructor is executed. That is, say if you are creating a 3 objects for this class, then 3 times the constructor is executed, so that it increments the counter variable for 3 times. Okay, so once after incrementing by 3 times, whenever you access by the any of the object, it shows the 3 only. Okay, so delete, this is the destructor. Here I am assigning that whenever you delete the object, I want to decrease the counter value. Okay, so that here we are decrementing a counter value. So whenever the 3 objects are active, you'll be have the counter value 3. Whenever you remove any one object, then automatically it decreases the count and shows the 2. Okay. So counter is a class variable and remaining 4 are the object variables or instance variables. So I'll see how this will be executed. Okay, whenever I'm first displaying a counter value, that is whenever you are trying to access from outside also will be accessed by the class name. Account.counter, initially it shows the 0. Now I'm creating a one object, a1 equals to account with the required values. Okay, whenever you show that counter value, it shows the 1. That is one object is created. Okay, and we are creating a second object for the same account class, and again trying to access the counter value, it shows the 2 because 2 objects are created. Now I am assigning a3 equals to a2. Okay, I have a question here. Is the constructor is invoked or not? Here I am writing a statement like a3 variable is created with the values of a2. A2 object is assigned to the a3. Is the constructor invoked here or not? If it is not, why? Okay, some are posting messages. Yes, ma'am. Okay, it executes a constructor. Okay, what type of a creation it is? Okay, actually, so whenever you are doing like this, like once one of the object is already created and you are assigning that object to the any another new object or new variable, okay, then it is created as a reference variable. Okay, here it is created as a reference variable. Now a3 is a reference variable. That is a3 is a reference variable to the a2. Okay, so a3 refers the a2. So it doesn't has any separate memory space. Okay, here in the memory already a2 is created. Okay, for the same memory space, a3 is referred. Okay, so that is nothing but a3 doesn't has any separate memory allocation. Okay, just it allocates a separate name. That is, it assigns a one separate name for the a2. Okay, that is for the a2 memory block. We have the 2 names. One is the a2 and another one is the a3. So they are the 2 names for the same memory block. So it doesn't allocate the separate memory space, so that Okay, whenever you do like this, A3 equals to A2, it doesn't creates the object, so that it doesn't call the constructor. Okay, so A3 is not treated as a separate object. Okay, it is just another name for the A2 memory. Okay, A2 memory location. Okay, so you have the counter as same as previous value, that is 2. Why? Because constructor is not executed. Okay, now A4 is another object which we are creating with the required values. Now the counter value is 3. Okay, now I am trying to delete the objects. Okay, yeah, for deleting of the objects, we can use the del keyword, del space your required object. It manually deletes the object from the memory and destroys the object. So at that time, it calls the destructor. So your counter is decreased. Okay, del A4. So it destructs the object A4. So your value is counter value is 2. Okay, here I am destructing the A3, okay, but it doesn't call the destructor, okay, so that it doesn't decrease the counter value because you have the previous value same as 2. Now I am deleting the A2, so now your counter value is 1 because object is destroyed from the memory. Okay, so this is the execution of class variables and object variables. So object variables values are different. Okay, for the first object, Homer Simpson, second object, Fred Flintstone, and third object, Bill Gates. Okay, so but for all these objects, counter value is shared by all the objects. Okay, so the same value, that is, whenever you show by the any of the object, you will get that present counter value of the variable. Okay, that will not be separate for the separate objects. Okay. So in sometimes we need to create like this. Okay, then we can use the class variables and object variables as a separate. Okay. Okay. And once go through this quiz. Okay. Okay, these are the features up to the class level. Okay, and further we'll go through the inheritance and polymorphism and others. So meanwhile, up to whatever the topics we have covered, once answer to these quiz. Answer in a private. Okay, the first question is, which of the following statements can be used to check whether an object is a object variable or class A or not? Okay, object of the class A or not? Okay, I want to check whether a given object is a of type class A or not. Next, second one is, what relationship correctly fits for university and professor? And what relationship is suited for course and faculty? And which of the following statements is true? Okay, try to give all the answers at a time. You are posting one by one answer. Okay, first one is not answered by anyone else. Okay, for the first one, the answer is obj dot is instance of A. Okay, object dot is instance of the class name. Okay, here I will specify the object. and we'll call the method isInstance, and within the brackets we need to give the data type or class name. Okay, then it checks that whether this object is the instance of this particular class or not. Okay. And for the second one, the relationship between university and professor. Okay. So university is the association of the professors, that is the combination of the professors. Okay, number of professors are working in the university. Okay, with the combination of those all professors in the university, it forms the university. Okay, so that will call it as it is the association. Okay. And the third one is what relationship is suited for course and faculty. Okay. So course is composed of faculties. Okay. That is one course is the combination of different faculty. Okay. The faculty can be teach the multiple courses. Okay. One course is with a set of a faculty will be formed the one particular course. Okay. So we'll call it as a composition of the course and faculty. And which of the following statements is true? By default, the new method invokes the init method. The new method is defined in the object class. Init method is defined in the object class. str method is defined in the class, object class. And eq method is defined in the object class. Okay. So this is actually the answer is the new method is defined in the object class. Actually, we have multiple options here. str method is also defined within the object class. New method and str method are defined within the object class. Okay, and the first one is also same. The new method invokes the init method. Okay, okay, these all whenever you display with the dir of object, you will get all these methods and you can check them. Okay, these are the methods which are already defined within the object class, and those are derived to our classes. Okay, by default for all the classes, these methods are derived. Okay. Okay, now we'll move on to the next topic. Is it clear up to this? Is there any doubts? Fourth one, EQ method is defined in the object class. EQ method is not there. D, okay, str method is derived. Third one is B, second one is A. It's not B. Okay. So we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, now I'll see the inheritance topic. So inheritance is nothing but we are saying that okay, there is a one class which is already existed and will be create the multiple classes as the derived classes or as the new classes. Okay, the simple example of the inheritance is, okay, say for example, some school is wants to computerize their operations. Okay, and at the initial stage, whenever the software is developed for the school, okay, the school has only up to 1 to 5th class. Okay, or 1 to 10th class. Okay, the school is started with the first class to 10th class. Okay, and after 10 years, okay, the school is properly developed and the school wants to increase its score, and they want to introduce the intermediate courses also. Okay, up to the 10th class, whatever the classes which are created in the software are used to access the only up to 10th class students data. Okay, that is 6 subjects and faculties names and others. Again, marks and grading also based on the 6 subjects. Okay, those all are created as per the up to the 10th class only. But now the school wants to introduce the inter, okay, so that they need to change their software to accept the inter students data also. Okay, then once the 10 years is over, is nothing but previous software developer may not be available, a software company may not be available to work with that software again. Okay, then the school has to give that software to the new company. Okay, and the new company has to understand the existing software and existing program, and then they need to do the changes. Okay, generally it takes the time of 1 month or 1 year. Okay, so without that, if that software is created with the object-oriented programming, Okay, then even after 10 years, okay, if you are giving that software to the any other any new organization, okay, they need not to understand the existing software, they need not to touch the existing software, they need not to change any existing software code. Okay, they can just create the new class as the inter, and they can create all the variables and all the methods which are required to accept the inter student data, and that can be used as the child class for the existing software classes. Okay, just they can attach it as a child class for the existing classes. Okay, so that for the existing classes it will be work properly, and with the new inter class it can accept the inter student data. Okay, it uses the all the functions and all the features which are already available in the existing software. Okay, so this feature is basically mainly advantageous in software development and extension of the features. Okay, so whenever a new features to be added and whenever a existing software to be extended with the new features, okay, then inheritance is very helpful, and it is used mostly in the each and every software development. Okay, that is this actually our OOPS concepts are introduced at the 1972. Okay, from there onwards up to now, okay, our each and every softwares are developing in the object-oriented programming languages only. Okay, so that only we are getting these number of versions daily in the softwares. Okay, so say for example, previous year Windows is released of 2018. Okay, in the next year they are releasing a 2020, and the next year they release the 2021. Okay, that is every year they are releasing a new versions. How it will be possible is based on the this object-oriented programming inheritance feature. Okay, so I will see how this is implemented and how this can be used in our programs. Okay, the existing class is called as a base class, and the new classes are called as the derived classes or child classes. Okay, so we'll see how these will be used. Okay, the examples or types of inheritances. Okay, that is based on the number of child classes we are using and based on the number of base classes we are using. Okay, the inheritances are divided into the 4 types. Okay, okay, the first one is called as a single inheritance. Okay, where we have only one base class and one child class. Okay, then that is there is only one level of inheritance with the one base class and one child class. Okay, that is the single inheritance. Okay, the inheritance with the one base class, okay, and in the multiple levels of the child classes. Okay, that is class A, and class B is derived from class A, class C is derived from class B. Okay, here in the first level, class A is base class for class B. In the second level, class B is base class for class C. Okay, like this in the multiple levels. Each level has one base class and one child class, but here you can have multiple levels like this. Okay, that is well called as a multi-level inheritance. Okay, third type of inheritance is, okay, there is one base class, multiple child classes. Okay, we can have more than one child classes for the same base class. Then that is called as the hierarchical inheritance. Okay, and the fourth type of inheritance is there we have multiple base classes for a single child class. Okay, then that type of inheritance is known as the multiple inheritance. Okay, with a more than one base class for a same single child class. Okay, that is called as the multiple inheritance. Okay, this is actually these inheritances are only for the sake of classifying of type of program you are writing. Okay, but is not restricted for the type of program you are writing for the specific purpose. Okay, so based on our requirement, we can use the any type of inheritance. Okay, next we'll see the examples for these inheritances. Okay, this is the explanation again for the same. A single, multiple, multi-level, hierarchical inheritance, and multiple inheritance. Okay, so now we'll go for the example for this. And this is the creation of the, that is specifying of the inheritance. Okay, so this is the subclass or derived class or child class. Okay, will be created new class as class keyword and the name of the child class, and within the brackets will give the base class name. So whatever the class which we want to use as a base class, okay, that class name you can specify within the brackets. Okay, so now this is the base class for this subclass, colon. Next you can write normal class colon. Okay, whatever the variables you want to create or whatever the methods you want to specify, those all you can write in the class body. Okay. So here we have a function, one special function with the keyword super, a super and function. Okay, this method is especially used to access the any method or any variable of a base classes. Okay. So you can use like a super function dot init. It calls the constructor of the base class. Okay, super of init dot init of arguments. Okay, you can call the constructor which is having a particular number of arguments. Okay. So the first one is which calls the constructor without any arguments. Okay, only it has a self parameter without any other arguments. And this constructor, this method is for to call the constructor with a specific number of arguments. Okay. And third one is super dot method. You can call the method of the base class using the super function. Okay. So whenever you want to access the base class constructors or base class methods, then you can use the super function. Okay. Next. Here is an example for the single inheritance. Okay, here is the employee is the one class, employee one is the class. Okay, here it has a constructor with a self name, age and salary as the parameters. Okay, and self dot name equals to name, self dot age equal to age, salary equal to salary. Here we are creating a three public variables, name, age and salary. For those are assigning our parameter values. Okay. So now we are creating a child class part-time employee. That is generally employees is nothing but the company may have some employees as the permanent employees and some as the internship employees and some as the part-time employees, some as the guest employees. Okay. So like that, I'm creating a new class as the part-time employee and which is derived from the employee one class. Okay. So in here also have a constructor and with the parameters of name, age, salary and ID. Okay. I'm giving an extra variable as ID. Okay, 4 parameters we are sending to this. Okay, here I'm assigning as self dot name equals to name, self dot age equals to age, salary equal to salary, ID equals to ID. Here you can observe I'm specifying these 3 variables here. It doesn't create name, age and salary as a new variables here. It takes these variables from the base class. Okay. It doesn't try to create the variable. Okay, whenever it is trying to create a variable self dot name, it checks the current class and also the base class. Okay, whether there is any variable with the name. Okay, is there any variable with the name? Okay, is there in the base class or in the current class? Okay, but name is a variable in the base class. Okay, so that it doesn't create it again. It just uses the base class variable and assigns the name variable value. Okay, and here in the also same. Age variable is used from the base class and assigns the value. Salary variable is also used from the base class and assigns the value. Okay, and while creating the ID variable, it checks whether this is available in the base class. But ID is a not variable in the base class, so it creates a separate variable and assigns the ID. So this is only the ID is only the variable of the part-time class. Remaining 3 are the variables of the base class. Okay. So whenever you are trying to access, you can access the all the values. Here I am creating an object for the base class, employee 1, Harsh 22 and 1000. Okay, whenever you are trying to access the emp1.age, it shows the age is the 22. Okay, we can also access the same values from the child class also. You can create an object for the part-time and you can send the values and you can access those values. Okay. Here it reduces the recreation of the same variables again. Okay. Or redundant creation of the variables. Next. Okay, this is the example for the multiple inheritance or multi-level inheritance. Okay. Here we are creating a class as employee class as the base class and next child class as the part-time class and next child class as the intern. Okay, employees, there are the say 2 types like part-time and full-time. So part-time is the one child class And within the part-time, there may be the different types of part-time employees. So the one of the part-time type is the internships. Okay. So I'm creating a different variables. I can use the same variables also. Okay, here we are using the same variables for these three classes. Okay. And we can create the objects for them, and we can use the values of the objects. Okay. So whenever you are specifying the multi-level, for the part-time employee is the base class, for intern part-time is the base class. Okay. And intern class can access the employee class three variables. Okay. How it is able to access is these three variables are derived to the part-time class. Okay. From the part-time class, if the intern class can access those variables. Okay. It is not directly access the employee class variables. Those are derived to the part-time, and from the part-time, intern class accesses the variables. Okay. Next, this is the hierarchical inheritance. Okay, for that, it has the base class as the employee. Okay, there are the two child classes for the same class. So part-time and full-time are the two child classes. Okay, and both are derived from the employee class. Okay, so there is a one employee class, and part-time and full-time are the child classes for the employee class. Okay, so the employee class variables have two copies, one copy for the part-time and one copy for the full-time. It derives the one copy of employee class to the part-time and one copy of employee class to the full-time class. Okay. You can access these employee class variables from the part-time object or from the full-time class object. Okay. Next, multiple inheritance. Okay, here the example is employee is the base class, and the child class, another base class is the payslip class. That is, I have two base classes. One is the employee, and another one is the payslip class. And here from these two, we are deriving a class as employee pay. Okay. That is, this class can access the variables of both employee class and also the payslip class variables. Okay. So I am sending a parameters as name, age. Okay, those to the employee class, salary, DA, and HRA for the payslip class, and all are assigned from here. Okay. And now we are creating an object for that, and you can access the values. Okay. So with the using of an inheritance, we have a better advantages without creating the variables again. That is, without allocating a memory space again for the same variables, we can use in the child classes. Okay. But here in the Python, we'll get the difference only in the background, that is in the allocation of the variables. But in the foreground, we didn't get any difference of that. Okay. And there are the types of accessing methods. Okay. So generally, these methods are used to access the variables of the class. Okay. Whenever you are going to access the variables of the class, okay, we can define the different types of methods. Okay. So those methods, one type of methods are instance methods. Okay, that is the methods which are copy for the multiple objects. Okay. So within this instance methods, we have the accessor methods and mutator methods. Accessor methods are called as the get methods. Okay, whenever you want to give the accessibility to your private variable to outside of the class, okay, then you can write the accessor methods to get the value of the private variable. And mutator methods are the set methods. Okay, these methods are used to assign the value to the private variables. Okay. And class methods, these are similar to the class variables. Okay, whenever you want to define a common method for the complete class and which is to be shared by all the variables or the objects of the class, then you can define the class methods. And static methods, and the methods which are used to access the static variables and which are to be accessed by the class name. Okay, those you can write it as the static methods. Okay, we'll see how to define these all methods. First, we'll see how to create the accessor and mutator methods. Okay. So first, sorry, it is an example for instance methods. Okay, these are the normal methods just we are using up to now. Okay, like the display method with the self as a parameter. This is an instance method. Okay, once you are sending a self parameter, that is for each object you will be have the one separate self parameter, and you will be access that instance variables. Okay. So these methods are the instance methods. Okay. Next, okay. Within the instance methods, we have the two types. One is the get methods, and another one is the set methods. Get methods are the accessor methods. Set methods are the mutator methods. Okay. We'll see how to define these two methods. So assume that you have the two variables, name and branch. Okay, name and branch both are the private variables. Okay, I want to give the set method for to assign the value to the name variable, and set branch to assign the value to the branch variable, and get name to return the name variable value, and get branch to return the branch variable value. Okay, these methods are especially useful only whenever the variables are the private variables. Okay, but this example is giving a public variables, but actually these are useful only with the private variables. Okay. So like this you can write get and the variable name. Get and the variable name. Okay, and for the set method also set and the variable name. Okay, set method has self and the another variable which is the for the assigning of a value. And get methods has only self parameter. Okay, there is no other extra parameters for the get method. And these methods are used in the code like this. Okay, here I'm taking a name value and branch value from the keyboard, and set name of name. Okay, it assigns the value to the name variable. Set branch of branch, and get name to get the name, and get branch to get the branch value. Okay, these methods are called as accessor and mutator methods. Okay. And class methods are the methods which are defined with the this specific symbol, okay, which are called as @ symbol and class method. Okay. So these are the methods which are shared by multiple objects, and will be called these methods only with the class name, okay, not with the object name. Okay. So don't left. Will be complete with the two topics. Okay. So class methods and static methods. Static method is the final, and with that we'll be complete our object oriented programming concepts of the Python. Okay. Okay, don't be bored or feel bored. You just will complete with these two topics. Okay. I think you don't have any class after this. Okay. So this is a class level method. Okay, we already know the class variables. As in the same way, this class methods. Okay. And here it has the two parameters. That is, here it has a separate parameter as CLS, okay, which doesn't have self parameter. Okay. Self parameter is only for instance methods. Here we have CLS parameter for class methods. Okay, we need to define the class method with the @ symbol class method, and next write the class method with the CLS parameter, and name is the another variable, okay, which is used to print the value. Print name flies with CLS.wings. Okay, wings is the class variable. Okay, that is accessed here. Okay. And you can access this fly method with bird.fly, and again bird.fly of sparrow. Okay. So whenever you give the value, okay, with that value it shows this message. Next are the static methods. Okay, the static methods are the methods which are used to create the, or which are used to access the separate variables, which we'll call them as the same class variables. Okay, but these variables are created in the global memory space, and those will not be destroyed for the object to object. Okay, and with the decorator symbol as @ static method. Okay, whatever the method you want to write as a static method, you need to specify the @ symbol and static method for that methods. Okay, so here the statement is missed. Okay, here we need to specify the @ symbol static method. Okay, then only it will be treated as the static method. Okay, okay, the static method can access the static variables. Okay. So here number of instances created is showing it as myClass.n variable. Okay. In the constructor, we are assigning the myClass.n is the n plus 1. Okay. So and here I'm creating a two objects m1 and m2 and m3. Okay. Whenever it prints a number of objects, okay, it shows that count of objects. Okay, that is whenever you want to access the class variables, okay, in our methods, there you can use the static methods. Okay, either we can use the static methods or class methods. Both will work properly. Okay, both are used to access the class variables. Okay. So by this our current today's topics are over. Okay. So we have learned the different types of methods, that static methods, class methods, and accessor and mutator methods, instance methods. These are the types of methods we have. And multiple inheritance types, multiple hierarchical, single and multi-level inheritances. And we have learned the how to access the how to specify the child class for the base class and how to access the base class members with the super method, and types of inheritances and inheritance. And we have completed the our types of variables, class and object variables, and we have seen the how to create the encapsulation based variables. Okay. So these are the topics we covered today. Okay. And whatever the leftover topics we'll see in the next class, or we will go for the exceptions and error handling in the next class. So thank you, and practice these all topics. Okay. So this is the one of the important unit in your Python. Okay, up to now you just use the simple statements as same as your C language, but from here this object-oriented programming is new to you. Okay, so that practice this. Okay, very less logic in these programs, but you will be confused with these topics. Okay, so that once prepare these object-oriented programming properly, and it is very easy unit, okay, compared to all other units. Okay, so మీకున్న రిమైనింగ్ యూనిట్స్ తో కంపేర్ చేస్తే మీకు థర్డ్ యూనిట్ ఫోర్త్ యూనిట్ చాలా ఈజీగా ఉంటుంది ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఓరియెంటెడ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ ఇది. సో ఈజీగా అంటే మీకు ఎక్కువ లాజిక్ యూజ్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేని యూనిట్ ఇది, కాబట్టి జాగ్రత్తగా ప్రిపేర్ అవ్వండి. ఓకే, ఓకే, థ్యాంక్ యూ. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can post in the chat box.